Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 80 of the I Rock Knits podcast. I'm back. I have so much to tell you. This is going to be a long one, but I am happy to be recording here. It is Thursday, September 9th in the afternoon, and I'm hoping that this is my road to recovery coming back. I have lots to tell you. Let's kind of do things in order, though. Keep it organized so I can try to be a little more succinct. What am I wearing today? I have on a Gudrun Sjoden top and a pair of overalls. I got these off an Instagram person I follow. I can link them in the notes, but they're big and baggy. They have pockets, so they're comfortable for my stomach, which is still bothering me, but we'll get to that. I have a ton of audiobooks to share. I have a recipe. I have a sweater. I have a bunch of yarn. I have some announcements, and I have a vacation story. I've got 3 Cori stories, 2, so just so much to tell you all. Thank you for coming back. If you have not watched before, welcome. But for all of you who have been watching for 3 years, I'm now headed into a new season of the podcast this fall, and hoping that now I will hopefully be a little more regular here. Let's do audiobooks. Someone asked me the other day, I can't believe you listen to so much audio, and we've talked about this before, but one of the ways, and I decided to show you all that I listen to a ton of audio, is I go like this. And everywhere I walk in my house, it's playing. So there's your tip or trick for the day for listening to lots of audio, so you don't have to set your phone down. I just tuck it. I let my dog out. I come back in. I go on the deck. I pick the tomatoes. I drive. I get in my car, and it's just playing. It's called iPhone in your bra. That way I don't have to carry it around. I don't have to pocket. I just tuck it in. On days, mostly lately, where I've been wearing a cami, that's been a little harder because then it sags down to where the boobs are. Which sometimes is on my upper belly. But anyway, it feels kind of good to laugh. I will be coughing. I still have it here. So I will just give you a brief illness update. I saw a surgeon on Tuesday for the possible diagnosis of a hiatal or abdominal hernia, which is what I still kind of think I have. But now I've had 3 doctors tell me that it's not. They think that what I have protruding on the front of my stomach, where I had a gallbladder surgery with just like the 4 little incisions, is a fatty tumor. It hurts me all the time. It has hurt for a long time, but it's daily. I have left side pain. And the surgeon said I could remove it, but it is not your problem. It is not why you're having a stomach issue. You need to go back to your gastroenterologist. I'm a surgeon, not a diagnostician. He did do an exam of my stomach, which is the first time anyone has really done that. And he pushed all over, and it hurt everywhere. I would say that it only hurts in these 2 spots. Everywhere he pushed was very uncomfortable. So he said, could be pancreatitis, but it has not shown up on the blood work or the CAT scans. Could be leftover C. diff inflammation, but did not show up on the CAT scan or the colonoscopy. So I have an endoscopy finally scheduled for next Friday, the 17th. They have given me medication, and it is helping. They have given me tons of medications to try, and multiple of the first 6 I tried did not help. But what I'm using now is allowing me to function better in the last 2 weeks, which allowed me to go on a vacation, a trip that Ross and I had planned in the spring, and also allows me to function better as the day goes on. Used to be that I was really ill in the mornings, nausea, a lot of retching, even though I'm not throwing up, throughout the morning, and now that's limited to about an hour or 2. So I can function better after that, although I'm exhausted and my stomach hurts and my concentration is not great, and that does not bode well for a designer who needs to spend a lot of time on the computer. because I'm just really having trouble concentrating. And I've never been great at attention to detail because I can be kind of scattered. And so I'm really relying on some tech editor and some friends and some test knitters right now to help me out during this time, because haven't always been good at that part, and then now I'm really struggling. So, but I am like feeling better, and I think I'm also learning to live with it. Like, I wake up, I come out, I have my ginger ale, I have my saltine crackers. Thank you for so many of you who reached out to tell me that the licorice was causing my problem. I had that canister, which I said, sitting on the dining room table for months to talk to you about it. And I always set stuff in here, but I always don't get to it on every podcast. So I had not eaten licorice since April, and I got sick in July. So it was not the licorice. I love licorice, and I do eat licorice, but not all the time because I eat too much of it. And I know that it can cause stomach upset, but so many of you thought that the licorice could be the key to my issue, and it's not. Plus, this whole issue started with heart palpitations and a chest wall cough, like not in my lungs, but up here cough. And that wouldn't be related to that. So, and I still have this little chest flutters and cough. If any of you are naturopaths or believe in alternative medicines, I have been seeing a physical therapist for my fibromyalgia, and one of the things that she does is myofascial release and gentle touch and things, and she believes that a lot of this could be my vagus nerve that is on high alert and my fibromyalgia and the treatments. So if you're into that and you know more about it than I know about it, I saw her in August, and it's been a long story, but I couldn't see her. Her husband got COVID, no symptoms, but then they had to quarantine, so I couldn't see her. And then I was going to be gone. And so I saw her, and now she's gone for the whole month of September. And I did feel better after her treatment too, but I also got the new medication. Like, I'm trying all the things, and I know so many of you care about me and you want to help and you want to give me ideas, and it really is helpful and nice to hear that. But it is hard for me to keep up and tell each and every one of you that email me and text me and send me DMs where I'm at every few days. And I try. But sometimes I feel like I'm just sharing my health information, and that doesn't feel like I should be doing that as much either. So, because I'm kind of an open book and I don't really care if everyone knows. Then on the other hand, I write these long messages to people on Instagram who are reaching out and saying, I hope you're feeling better. Could it be this? Da, da, da. And then I'm like, da, 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 I did all this. And then I'm like, oh, do you know me well enough for me to be sharing diarrhea details? Anyway, so let's talk about some audiobooks. Phone in the bra. I started On the Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Couldn't do it. Listened and listened. You know, I have to be in a certain brain space right now, so I gave it up. I started The Splendid and the Vile. That's for book club next Monday. It's about Winston Churchill. I don't think he was the greatest man in the world, and this book is kind of Churchill positive, and he was kind of an ass. And I'm just like, can I read about someone? I understand it was the time, and that's the way women were often treated, but I don't know. It's a huge book, and I'm several hours in. I texted a friend today and said, are you finishing this? Because I feel bad if I give it up. And she's like, no, it's terrible. So I think I'm going to give it up. I haven't given it up yet, but if you know of a reason that I should stick with another 15 hours of The Splendid and the Vile, let me know. I have listened to a couple of good books. The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave, really fascinating. Man suddenly disappears, leaves behind a new wife and daughter, and they don't know anything. I wouldn't say it was suspenseful. It's not like that. It's not like, an intrigue like that. It was, it's more of a drama. I really enjoyed it. It kept my interest. Kept thinking, are they going to find him? Is he going to come back? That kind of thing. What's the story behind the scenes? Then I listened to Love Warrior by Glennon Doyle. I had listened to her other book previously. Really enjoyed it. I follow them on Instagram, and they do a podcast, which I've not listened to yet. And they make me think. She and her wife. So I loved Love Warrior. I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was interesting. Things that they say make me think, which I love. I really listened to it quickly. I couldn't put it down. She has a really nice writing style, very, quick listen. So I would highly recommend that, Glennon Doyle. And then while we were on vacation, I listened to American Dirt. And I'm going to say it's the number one book of 2021 for me. My book last year was In 5 Years. That was my number one book. It's the book that stuck with me. Best book ever? Probably not. Book that I continually think about to this day. And that's the way this one's going to be. So American Dirt by Jeanine Cummins. It was recommended on Instagram. It won a bunch of awards recently. It's a new book. And it's about a family in Mexico. And the drug cartel kills the husband and the family. And I think that's on the back dust jacket. And the wife and the young boy escape. And the father was a journalist. And then it's their life on the run and how bad the drug cartels are and how she decides that they need to try to escape and leave the country. And she becomes a kind of a migrant trying to get across the country and go north, and the horrific things that happen. So it is suspenseful, sad, terrifying, disgusting, shocking, inspiring, encouraging, hopeful. It's all the emotions. Not going to be a great book for everyone if you're not in a good place or if you're anti-immigrants. But boy, it makes you see the immigrants from a completely different perspective, and the thousands of miles and the way they travel and the way they are treated and the things that happen to them. I could not stop listening. We were on vacation and I would have one earbud in my ear as we were driving, and my husband would be trying to talk to me and I'd be like, yeah, honey. Because I just didn't want to stop listening. I highly recommend. I already called my brother, texted my brother and called my dad and said, you got to listen. I understand why it won awards. It's just so interesting. And it tugged at my human compassion heartstrings and what we don't know living in the land of plenty. So highly recommend. Really, everybody go out and buy it or put it on their wish list or ask for it for, birthdays and Christmas, whatever. If you're a big book lover and you have a huge to be read pile, this one needs to move to the top, in my opinion. Okay? And then let me know if you've read it. I want to know in the comments if you have started reading it, if you're going to read it, if you've heard about it, whatever. Because I hadn't heard anything about it. And I just found it so good. And I just started a book called Harry's Trees, which is super quirky, really interesting. I'm over halfway through, and I'm enjoying it. It's fairly easy reading. So I will let you know about that one. I have a recipe of the week for you guys this week. Super easy. 4 ingredients. Zesty chicken. A half a bottle of creamy French dressing. 1 package of dry onion soup. 1 can of whole cranberry sauce. Pour over chicken in a cake pan. Bake at 350 degrees for 45 minutes, remove the chicken and shred it and put it back in the oven for 15 minutes until crispy, and serve over rice. Now, I have a recipe that's similar to this. It uses like orange marmalade and dry onion soup mix and French dressing, but this is different because the cranberries, and then it's a creamy French, and then you shred it and put it back in the oven. Oh, zesty, sweet, tangy, easy peasy. You could make it tonight if you keep cans of whole cranberry sauce in your fridge. But yeah, it's called Zesty Chicken. You probably could find it online, but I always put the recipes in the Ravelry group in the show notes. And I always list the whole recipe, and then there's a list at the beginning of the show notes of every recipe I've ever talked about on the podcast. So you can go down and be like, it was one with whatever, beef tacos, and you can go down and maybe find it, and then the recipe is in there. So there you go, recipe of the week. Okay, I have a sweater of the week this week. So this has been sitting on the dining room table to talk about. I'm bumping the table today, sorry. I haven't done this for so long, I kind of forget. And I keep looking at my bangs. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. I got my hair cut, finally felt well enough right before we left on vacation to get my hair cut. Went in, saw my guy who I hadn't seen. My hair gotten long. And he's like, oh my gosh, you got new glasses. Oh my gosh, are we doing the bangs? And I was like, no, we're not doing the bangs. Because sometimes I do them, sometimes I don't. He's like, oh, we need to do the bangs to match the glasses. We need that pot pink bang to match the glasses. So he showed me 2 colors. I'm like, let's go with the lighter one. Let's not go too bold for Ross's sake. And so he did them, and I don't like them at all. They're just not the right color. They're turning more copper, which is fine, but they were a little more pink, and yeah, didn't like them. I like orange. I like rust. And then we didn't do enough, so they didn't. Yeah, whatever. I just keep looking at them because I don't look at myself in the mirror all day. So you know what? You don't know until you try. If you want to put a pink streak in your hair, put a pink streak in your hair. They're okay, but they're not my favorite. So in a month now when I go, before we go to Rhinebeck, I will do something different. I don't know what. Maybe go back to the orange kind of rusty stuff or whatever. And I have new glasses picked out, 2 pairs. I should show you guys. If I think of it, I will put in the pairs that I'm looking at. But it has been 8 weeks, and I haven't gone back to the shop to decide. I sent the pictures to my daughter. She didn't like either one. She never does. But I need a backup pair, probably before we go to Rhinebeck. And so I'll put them in here, hopefully. I'll remember. So this is the ground pepper sweater. I have one in a gradient of cream and yellow from Leading Men Fiber Arts. And it has become one of my favorite sweaters. I love putting a t-shirt underneath it or a white collared shirt and just wearing it. And I had 4 skeins of this yarn from the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival. It's highly variegated. I didn't know how it was going to work. Did get some pooling, and then you try to fix it, and then it doesn't quite fix it, and then you keep. And so, but the sweater could stand up to it, right? And I don't mind a little bit that, like, this is a little much. Yeah, it's a V-neck, multiple sizes, raglan shaping, which is, super easy, kind of just like a sweatshirt. And I just wear my other one. Like, it's the one that I look at and say, I'll just wear that today. So I thought having another or 2 would be, and it, easy knitting. Yeah, stockinette in the round, easy. It's, group knitting, easy to do. Okay, husband interruption. I had 2 questions from podcast viewers in the last 3 months that I'm finally getting around to. So we have a little discussion to have. The first one is, I had a question from a friend who said, Cori, what do you do about knitting in public around non-knitters? I was invited to a party where we were going to watch, I think, the Olympics. And I went with my knitting. I was so excited to sit and with this groups of people, and I was going to knit and watch. And I got there, and the woman made a comment. Oh, the landscape people are going by on their mowers. Maybe you can't hear that. And the lady said, oh, I hope we won't be so boring that you have to take out your knitting. And so she said, so then I didn't take out my knitting, and I really wanted to knit. And I will just say, friend, you are nicer than me, because I would have said, Knitting is my passion, and I'm going to knit because I love it and I can do it and carry on conversations and watch TV, and I will enjoy myself more. But apparently this woman also made a comment. You didn't even take your knitting out. I'm so glad. So, you know, with people like that, if you don't want to burn a bridge, then I guess you just don't get to knit. But people in my life know how much I love knitting and how much I do it all the time, and I knit everywhere, and I do get stares, and I do get looks, and I do think that there are people who think, oh, now the landscape guy's coming to the front door. I kind of forgot about podcast interruptions too. You gotta remember. So I had to talk to the guy. Sorry. Back to knitting in public. I knit in public when Ross and I go out to dinner, and I often get odd looks. I have knit bellied up to a bar and knit, and sometimes the bartenders are like, literally, you're going to sit here and knit? But if any of you have suggestions for a podcast viewer who is just wondering, how do you deal with that? I guess my mouth would start working before my brain engaged. And so sometimes I would just be like, you know, tough. I can do what I want. It's not going to bother you. But I do get it. People are bothered by it. People are bothered by smaller things than you knitting, right? And so if it's going to bug them the whole time, then I guess you just can't. You have to consider other people's feelings. I don't always, but honestly, I feel like if I wanted to watch the Olympics and knit, and she was like that, I would stop. I would start feeling unwell. I would go home and knit in my jammies. But that's terrible of me, right? I should be more kind to people who maybe don't love knitters. I don't know. Anyway, that was her question. I thought I would ask all of you. You can comment, and then she can read the comments below. Then I had a question from someone saying, Cori, I'm going to be knitting a colorwork yoke, and I'm using different kinds of yarn. And so I need to know how I swatch with multiple brands of yarn. Do I swatch with each one separately? No. You make your swatch using all the yarns at one time, as if you were actually knitting the yoke. So you cast on whatever the repeat of the yoke is, 20 stitches, and then you knit the color work just like the yoke would look. Is it a lot more work? Yes. Is it the only way you're going to find out whether or not those all work together? Yes. So no, you can't just swatch with the red, swatch with the blue, swatch with the green, and then see and then block it and see if that's going to work. You have to do the design, the actual thing you're going to knit. So if you're going to knit a slip stitch pattern, your swatch should be in slip stitch. If you're going to knit a lace pattern, your swatch should be in lace, unless the pattern states that the gauge is taken over stockinette stitch and not like over color work. So sometimes, like I have something happening now, anyway, that I'm doing, that the whole thing is, you know, ribbed or textured, but I measured the swatch, my swatch for the gauge over stockinette. So it's easier for people because then it should interpret into the textured stitch on this small design that I'm working on. But no, you can't just knit them separately. You have to use all of them in the actual color work motif that you're going to knit, especially if they're different weights. And sometimes the same weight of yarn in a different color will have a different thickness. That's a thing, folks. If you've never heard that. Same yarn in different weights, in the same weight, in different colors. It's the way the yarn plumps up when the color hits it or something. Anyway, it's been known to be true. It's not always true, but it's been known to be true. Okay, special notes and things I have to tell you. Well, I've got a lot here. On Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Central, I will be live on Zoom. And I will be featuring a bunch of new designs that I have coming out. I have a whole stack of new designs that I have not that I'm way behind on. I'm collaborating with 4 or 5 different yarn dyers, and I took it all on thinking I got all summer, and then I got sick for 2 months. And so I'm working my way through it now. I'm staying up really late, which I'm a night owl anyway, but my mornings are terrible. And I feel better at night, especially in the last 2 weeks. So I'm just knitting until all hours. This morning I woke up at 9:50, and I looked at the clock and I was like, oh my gosh. Just because I'm just staying up later to get this work done and try to bang it out, and it's working. So it's just what I have to do. But then Matt, my friend Matt, texts me. He's like, are you coming to knitting? And I'm like, no, I just got up. I'm still in my pajamas. I haven't showered. And I haven't been to knitting in 8 weeks. And he's like, oh, I could come today. And I'm like, okay, I'll shower. I'll get dressed. I want to podcast this afternoon, but I'll come. So I went. It was so nice to see everyone. The group has really dwindled. It's gotten small and quiet. It's all the introverts. So I show up and talk for an hour, and they probably roll their eyes, but whatever. It was good to see everyone because I just hadn't. So I am going to share several designs on Saturday, the new designs. I'm going to give sneak peeks, and then I'm going to answer questions from people. I'm going to do some tips and tricks. So it's a 1-hour Zoom for the pigskin party knit along. And I posted an Instagram, but you can go to Ravelry to the Downseller Studios podcast, and she's got a Ravelry group thread, and you can find out all the information. You can sign up. It is a knit along that goes from September to February, so like 5 months, and you knit anything you want, and you get points for every 100 yards you knit, and then you get prizes. And they ask designers and vendors, yarn dyers and bag makers and stitch marker makers to give coupon codes, and also if you knit things from those people or use those things while you're knitting, you get more points. So it's super motivating, really fun way. They have threads on Ravelry where you can look at all the designers' coupon codes and the designs that they have coming out and what you can knit to get those things, and you can choose whatever you want. The prizes are amazing. Everybody gives Jen all these prizes. So it's Boston Jen of the Downseller Studios podcast. She is... you can go listen to her podcast, and she talks about all of it. But basically, it's just a knit along, open-ended as far as what you want to knit, any weights of yarn, use the yarn you want. But if you have yarn from the dyers who are involved, if you knit a pattern like one of mine, you get extra points. We each sponsor certain parts of the knit along, so I'm going to have a challenge for one of my new patterns. So yeah, super fun. And if you want to join me on Saturday, I would love that, because you don't want to be the only one that shows up with on Zoom and no one's there. But if you sign up, and it doesn't cost anything to sign up, you can get the download link for the Zoom, and you can Zoom. It kicks off on Thursday, and then you can Zoom on Friday night and all day Saturday, and you can just sit in the Zoom room and knit, and people will come in. Like, I come in at 10, someone is before me at 9, someone's after me at 11, and it's one Zoom room, and you can just come and go as you please with that link. So it should be really fun, really interesting to see what people are going to talk about. I know Friday night they have some special activities that they're doing in the Zoom room, so I just wanted to put that out there. I'm going to try to get this podcast posted tonight, just so that I could tell people about that instead of waiting to put it out on Monday night, which is what I would usually do. So I need some test knitters. I have a sock pattern collaboration coming out with Suburban Stitcher in her DK tweed, and I wrote 4 sock patterns and knit 4 DK weight pairs of socks, but I also wrote the patterns all for fingering weight. So the pattern includes DK and fingering, and I'm using tweed yarn just because it's fun and different, and it has nylon in it because the neps are made out of nylon for like the DK, so you can make a harder wearing pair of socks. I also have a list of DK weight yarn that includes nylon and fingering weight. But because I have 4 pairs of socks in multiple sizes, adult, small, medium, large, and then I have a hat pattern coming out, I have a cowl pattern coming out, and I have an advent coming out, I'm really using up my test knitters. Like I'm like, please, I need more people. So if you love knitting socks, these are all easy to knit textured sock. Think advanced beginner. Um, they have a unique little feature that's optional. I'm going to show them on Saturday, but reach out to me because I have one pattern ready to go and I need fingering people on that one. And the next two are at the tech editor and will be ready in the next couple of days. She got behind because I had so much work for her. And so like I'm beating down her door. I'm like, okay, next, we need to do the next thing. And she just got 3 patterns back to me. And so she's, you know, it was my fault. But anyway, we're a little behind. And the deadlines are pretty open-ended. Of course, I wanted to have this whole collection out this fall and it hasn't happened yet. And the yarn dyers have been just delightful about it. No big deal. But if you're interested, just send me an email at Cori@irocknits.com and I will sign you up and get it out to you. You can use any yarn you want. Doesn't have to be tweed. You can use any color. It can be self-striping or I don't care. You're testing the pattern and then you're giving me feedback on if there are any errors and how much yardage you used for the size you made. That's what I need. Not hard. And beginner knitters are better because they read things more carefully. You advanced people, you're just like, oh, I know what she means. And so you fix the pattern as you go or you do it your own way. And that is not a good tester. I need people who read the instructions and then do what the pattern says. Okay? They're having landscape lawnmower, rider lawnmower races on my street apparently today. That 2 of them went up, now 2 of them went back. Okay. Let me tell you about my vacation. You can skip ahead here, but I'm going to share a bunch of video, a bunch of photos, and tell you about the amazing vacation that my husband and I went on. So we had planned to go to Seattle. Well, we just got back. And we planned it in the spring when we thought the world was going to be a better place. And my husband's been working 2 jobs since March because of EP left. And he has just been busting his tail. And now they've asked him to do the other job full time. And so he's got a decision to make. But I really wanted to go on this vacation with him. And I said, even if I'm sick in the mornings, I usually can rally and it will give me something to look forward to. And I'm learning to live with the stomach pain. It just hurts all the time. So we should just go. So we decided to go. And the reason that we originally planned to go to the Pacific Northwest was because I wanted to go to Church Mouse Yarn and Tees. And that was my goal. And they closed last August. So if you don't know, Church Mouse Yarn and Tees on Bainbridge Island is no longer brick and mortar. They are only an online store. And that's why we planned the trip. But there's a new yarn store on Bainbridge, and there are lots of yarn stores in the Pacific Northwest, and I didn't really know if we'd be doing yarn stores because I wasn't feeling all that great. I felt that's one of the reasons that we tried the new medication and that I could make it happen. So we spent 2 nights at the Salish Lodge on the waterfalls. Stunning. Super nice place. Spent way more than we should have to stay there. So highly recommend the Salish Lodge. It was just beautiful, the waterfalls. So we wanted to go to Pike's Place in Seattle. So we decided to do that. And as we parked downtown Seattle on the street and we were going to head down and we're walking down this hill and here's this picture. And my husband's like, Cori, yarn store. I was like, what? Like, we're going to Pike's Place. I want to see him throw fish. I want to see all the flowers, all the things. I'm not doing yarn store, right? Like, when we were going to leave, I was going to look up where the yarn store was. And I knew there was one right there in Seattle, close, but I didn't realize that we were going to literally walk down the hill. So much yarn, lovely store, called So Much Yarn. Lovely store, huge selection. Ross sat in the chair. I took a video, looked out over the top of Pike's Place. I just was shocked. Like, I couldn't believe that we found a yarn store within like 10 minutes of parking. And it was just lovely. I could have spent hours, but it was not part of our day. It wasn't part of our plan. We found a yarn store. I have a knitting podcast.
Oh, do you?
On YouTube. It's called I Rock Knits. And so I will show everyone where I was.
Thank you very much.
And I will talk about how lovely it was to find a huge, amazing.
I appreciate that.
So I'll show you what I bought. I bought these two skeins. This is called Fiber Space, and it is their fairy wings. It is a combination of mulberry, silk, mohair, and poly. And they had a cowl, like a cabled, all over cabled cowl knit up in this, in a raspberry. And I really wanted the raspberry, and she didn't have the skeins. So when I got home, I ordered the raspberry. So I'm going to knit two of these. I think I'm going to make one for a Christmas gift for a friend. And the pattern is this Cobbly Now. It's called Cobbly Now by Jenny Hewitt. It did not print the front page because it was all picture. But here is what it looked like. And it was in raspberry, and of course it just, and she was really low on colors, so I got the lime green. But it takes, two skeins to make it. And I thought that was really interesting yarn. I don't knit with silk a lot. I'm hoping it's not itchy, because I'm not a huge fan of mohair on my neck. Like, I don't, but it's not bad. Soft. So it's looking more yellow. It's lime green. Okay. Then we go down into Pike's Place, and I will show a picture of what we stood to see the throwing of the fish. Every time someone orders, then they yell, and then they throw the fish across the thing, and everyone claps and watches. It's a spectacle, really fun. And then we walked, and we just walked. Everyone was masked in the whole place. Everywhere we went in Seattle, everyone was masked. On the planes, they handed you wet wipes to wipe down everything. That was my biggest concern, was getting on the plane. But everyone is masked, and we were outdoors some of the time at Pike's Place. We went out. The Ferris wheel wasn't running, but we wanted to look at it and look out over the hey, bud. He's been super needy since we were gone for a week. He does not like the fact that we were gone. He's just always, no, wanting Mom often. Where are you, Mom? Where are you, Mom? He follows me anyway, but now it's, okay, you lay down. So we're walking in Pike's Place, and we're looking at all the glass, right? They have blown glass figurines and pumpkins, which I love. I really wanted one. But when you're shopping with your husband, like stuff you would normally just buy, you'd be like, I want one of those. You kind of wait, and you're like, well, let's keep looking. I never did get one, so that is kind of a bummer, but. The other souvenir that we bought was at Pike's Place Market. We were in a place called Kitchen Basics, and it was a store chock full of kitchen stuff, but she had more Fiesta ware than I've ever seen. It was in this back alley by the bathroom. I was waiting for Ross to come out, and I saw, like, through the window, through these window panes, like little window panes, I could see this Fiesta ware, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go in there. So I have Fiesta ware plates and bowls, and I have 2 of each, like red, orange, green, blue. Of course I do, right? Rainbow. And I just love all the Fiesta ware. I would like more serving pieces. I have like a bowl, and that's it. And so I said to Russ, oh, we have to go in here. And he's like, kitchenware. I'm like, yes, we have to go in here. And I don't know if any of you follow Tabitha Brown on Instagram. She's an actress, but she also cooks. She's kind of a more recent vegetarian. She has this spatula that's cut off at the top. I think it's for serving, but she uses it all the time, and she has a name for it, and it's really kitschy and funny. And they had those. They had these kind of Melmac hard plastic cut. And so I bought an orange one. I'll put a picture in. And then we bought 2 little orange Fiesta vegetable bowls. Like, when we serve food at night, my husband does not like to put his vegetable, his broccoli or his peas or his whatever little side of pasta salad, whatever we make, on his plate. He wants to put it in a little cup on the plate. I'll put it on my plate half the time. But we have these little glass dishes. They're quite small. And so we bought these 2, and I said, well, what color do you want? I'm going to get orange. And he's like, well, I want orange. I was like, well, Mr. Blue Denim and Gray Shirt, I am winning you over. He goes, no, I like orange. So we got 2 of these little orange things in there and this orange spatula. And the lady had so much Fiesta ware, and she says, I ship anywhere. She had cookie jars and canisters and serving dishes and pizza. I mean, all of it. She says, yeah, I kind of have the thing. I buy it all. And she had all the old, like, discontinued colors. She had a ton. So if you are a Fiesta ware fan, it was Kitchen Basics in Pike's Place Market. Fiesta. 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 Fiesta.
Hi, Nancy. Hey, Nancy. Come here.
And then
This is happening live in New Orleans, the hurricane. There's a hurricane in New Orleans, Category 4. It's live, happening right now. Holy fucking just started like a couple hours ago. 150 mile-hour wind.
wow, incredible. So, okay. We're walking along this thing, and we see yarn, and I'm like, what? Like, it's been 2 hours, and I've seen 2 yarn things already. And there was a booth, and it was MJ Yarns. And I know him. He reached out to me a year ago to ask me if I would design with his yarn, and I had to say no because I was having my surgeries, my hands and stuff, and I had already committed to some other, designs, and I had just written, and I was just like, so I said, like, I've never met him in person, but we had gone back and forth, and I said, are you MJ? And this guy goes, no, I'm not. I'm his apprentice. And I was like, oh my gosh, well, I can't believe I came all the way to Seattle. And within the first 2 hours, I've run into somebody that I recognize or I know. And so, is that what you're going to write your benefit? Of course, I had to buy some of his yarn. So Ross helped me pick this. And this is Merino Squish Bulky. And it is 100% merino, milled in Peru. Gauge is 3.5 stitches, 120 yards. It's called Daisy Detonation. Oh boy, look at those speckles. And highs and lows. Really pretty. Ross liked this. And I was like, he never picks yarn out, right? Never shops for yarn. He's like, well, and he of course he's going to go with something a little more muted. So I got that within. And I could have gone back. He said, you can always go back to that other shop, and I would have, but I have so much yarn at home. So much yarn. And sometimes I'm in a yarn shop and I go over, I pick something out. And maybe I've said this before. And I'm like, oh, I already own that. Then I pick out another color. Oh, I already own that, right? Because I have so much. So my whole kind of thought process was don't buy anything. Then you get in somewhere and you spend time, and I feel bad walking out without buying anything. I just feel like I need to support them and buy something. So every place we went, I ended up with skein of yarn. So then we left and we were going to drive by the Space Needle. I went in the Space Needle as a child, and I told Ross I didn't need to do it again. He probably would have liked to, but by that time it was getting later in the day. And I'm like, it's only a mile away from where we are. Let's just at least drive by. And, we're big Diet Coke drinkers, which we probably shouldn't be. I don't drink it much anymore because I'm doing ginger ale and water. But we wanted to share a Diet Coke, so we were going to go through a McDonald's drive-thru. And like underneath the Space Needle across the street is a McDonald's drive-thru. So I stepped out, took a picture. There it was. And then we headed back, and we spent kind of 2 nights at Salish, 1 day kind of doing Seattle. And then we had originally made a reservation to be in the mountains to the east of Seattle. And we had gotten a call in, I don't even know, July, maybe end of July. Time for me this summer. I lost 2 months, but that they were closing the lodge due to the fires. All the people were being evacuated. We couldn't come. So then Ross had kind of scrambled because he's like, well, we don't want to go, right? If there are fires and it's smoky, like we can't hike, whatever. So he said, we're going to go to the coast. We're going to go further out, because Seattle is there's a waterway, and then there's more land. And then, anyway, if you know your geography, some of you don't, I'm not as familiar with that area. So we wanted to go to the coast. So we called out and we called it this bed and breakfast. And she's like, no, we have no smoke issues whatsoever. And so we booked at this Colette's Bed and Breakfast. Lovely. So we were in Port Angeles, and it was just lovely. It was a kind of a ranch style, beautiful home. On the water, so like 50 yards of front yard and then a cliff kind of looking out right on the bay. Across the way was the San Juan Islands, and up to the left was Victoria, British Columbia. So, absolutely lovely. And then I can't even call them cabins, so I'm going to call them guest houses. There were like 2 guest houses that each had 2 bedrooms in them, and don't think cabin in the woods. Although It was in the woods. Lush gardens. They have full-time gardener. Lovely. You had this big picture window, and you had your bedroom, and then you had this lovely bathroom with a big jacuzzi tub and, all the amenities. And she served beautiful breakfast every morning. You had your choice of savory or sweet breakfast. You chose the night before. And then at 5 o'clock, she had a happy hour where she put out wine and drinks. And then she had a tray that you picked up for your cabin with appetizers on it. And they were, lovely. We had bruschetta and English cucumbers with cream cheese and salt. Oh, it just lovely.
Okay.
Yep. So, highly recommend. There were several bed and breakfasts along this stretch that were out of town and kind of down a back road. But the George Washington Inn was one of them. So if you're familiar with that one has like big pillars. It's a big kind of mansion. That was like 3 or 4 lots, I don't know, mile down the way. The gardens were just so beautiful, so well kept, very private, absolutely lovely. But so there's a big great room, and then like 5 tables of 2 for the people that are staying there.
That you need to fill out, and then when you bring your tray back later, there's a pen on there too. So you want to read it to the top, and it'll circle whether you want sweet or savory.
It wasn't. There were only 4 couples there when we were there, and the first 2 nights everyone was real quiet and just kind of sticking to themselves. But then, people come and go, and then there was kind of an extroverted guy. One night he came over and he's like, "I gotta ask you about your clothes." You're so bright. And so I was like, okay, I'm wearing good. And then his wife was on the phone, this other lady, and they both chimed up. So I don't know if the woman said, you need to find out what that woman's wearing. But I had my pink and black. You guys have probably seen it. Dress. I always get compliments when I wear that. And it's not my favorite one. But I just have like black capri, wide-legged, kind of shiny leggings underneath it. And anyway. And so he says, I can't wait till you see what you wear tomorrow. And then I was like, well, shoot, pressure. We're getting down to the last day here. I don't have much left. I wore this the next morning. Anyway, it was funny. But people, they had like a fire pit. You could sit out at 5 o'clock and just look out. And there are binoculars in every room so you could look out on the ocean. It really isn't the ocean because it's the waterway, but you could look out on the San Juan Islands. You could look, to the left and right. And the trees, In Minnesota up north, we have big trees, but these are big trees, bigger trees. And everything felt very Twilight movie, very foggy, mossy. I loved that. Like we went up to the rainforest, we went up to the mountains. We spent on our way to Port Angeles. We're driving, it was like a 2.5-3 hour drive from Seattle. And Ross said, do you want to check and see if there are yarn stores in the area? We need to stop at one of these towns to take a break. And I was like, sure. So we stopped in Silverdale and went to Knit Together. And those ladies were lovely. Oh my gosh, I could have talked to them for an hour. I haven't talked to anybody. And they were like, you should go to this yarn store. And if you go there, have this for lunch. And you go to this yarn store. And this is the best one. And the lady wrote them all down for me. And they were awesome. So if you live in Silverdale, Washington, or on or around, or you're visiting, it was a cute little house. Put the picture in. Right on the water. So my husband could go for a walk down to, right there. It was lovely. Little yarn, little rooms of yarn. Really cute. I bought some stitch markers for a friend's birthday. I bought a stitch marker counting chain, which is in the other room. And then I purchased some yarn. I've been looking for this Malabrigo magenta for a project, and I didn't have any of this colorway, and that's what they had. So I bought these stitch marker sets, and then I purchased this skein of Malabrigo magenta. It's Rios. I love Rios. It's so saturated, And a lot of the yarn stores have those traditional, Plymouth, Cascade, whatever it is. And that's just not what I want to buy. I kind of want to buy indie dyed. I want to kind of buy something special. But they had this mitten advent hanging over the door.
Advent garland mitten calendar or whatever. Let me see what it's called.
And that was designed by my friend Kathy Lewinsky, who is the president of the Minnesota Knitters Guild right now, and she designs her knit picks. She's the one that's done the Santa pillow. And 2 or 3 of the shops I went in had her advent mitten thing. And so I was like, oh, I know her. So that, that's really fun to kind of look around and see the samples that people are knitting. Like, what do they have in the shop that I might like to knit? So that was really nice to go in there. Then in Port Angeles, there's a yarn store. Very nice yarn store. She was very sweet. A cruise ship had landed And so there were people coming in, so she was busier. There's no one in there when I went in, and then these women and some men came in, going into each of the little shops in Port Angeles, which really surprised me because there wasn't much there to shop at. Anyway, so I was looking for local yarn there. So this particular yarn is called Distracted by Yarn, and it was dyed for them in Port Angeles. And so I got that colorway, which is called Spruce Railroad. And then this one is called West Corner Wool, and it is a superwash, and it's from Sappho, Sappho, Washington, local to her. And she said, from just what you're wearing today, I think this might be in your color. She went in the back and brought it out for me. So then I had to buy it, right? I might not have purchased this one. But whatever, I did like it. And so I don't usually buy fingering weight skeins. So I got a mohair skein to go with this. But anyway, that's the rest of the yarn I bought.
Bye, ladies. Have a nice day.
To Hurricane Ridge, which was windy and beautiful, and we saw Crescent Lake for those of you that live in that area or who have traveled out there. Just lovely in the rainforest. We didn't go all the way over to the whole rainforest. I can't hike right now. Okay, my foot is bad, and the first stop we made within an hour of landing in Seattle was at the Birkenstock store, because that's all I've been able to wear lately, and I have 2 pairs of sandals, and I ordered Birkenstock tennis shoes before we left, and they came and they were too small. So I shipped them back and ordered the larger size. I had time. I had, a week or whatever. And they didn't come the day before we left. And so I called the company and they're like, oh, we emailed you. We don't have that size available. I never got the email. So I was really frustrated. So I have no tennis shoes. I have no closed-toed shoes to go on vacation. And I know I can't hike because my foot is so bad. Although it is better now that I've been laying in my chair in my pajamas for 8 weeks. But I've been just walking down to the corner and back. Ross will walk me some days when I really don't feel good. And then other days the dog and I go. And so when we landed, we were Googling Birkenstock. Ross called. He's like, we need a size 39, white, a Birkenstock tennis shoe. The guy goes, I've got them right here. I'll put them at the desk. It was, 15 minutes from the airport. We drove over there. We picked them up. And I wore them every day. That's what I wore. But so we knew we couldn't hike the mountains like we normally would like to, or bike or do those things, because I probably wasn't just going to feel up to it. So we did a lot more driving and looking, and we would just pull over an Outlook and we would look out over the mountain. We'd take some pictures. We'd breathe in the air. prayer, and then, you know, we kind of move on. It was lovely. It was just stunning. So we spent kind of 2 days doing that. And then we went to Port Townsend one day. They have 2 yarn stores in Port Townsend. And Port Townsend was much more tourist friendly than Port Angeles. Port Angeles seemed really like a depressed port, a very working class, and we saw a lot of poverty and drug people, like people obviously high, walking along the roads. Like, you know, several times we saw that. Just one girl kind of in the street almost. It was just really sad. And we couldn't find places to eat in Port Angeles. More stuff seemed closed. We had to drive to Squim. It just seemed like it had suffered more, maybe during COVID or the economy, than Port Townsend and Squim. They were better, those 2 towns. So we went to Port Townsend for the day. It's just a lovely historical downtown. That was just fun. I went into the Bazaar Girls and I went into Diva Yarn and Trim. So I purchased this skein at Diva Yarn and Trim because the new sock designs that I have coming out are in DK Tweed, and that they're all Suburban Stitcher, but I had not seen this colorway from her, and so this is Mountain Colors in Harmony Rose, and it's DK Tweed, and I was like, I could do socks in that, because the 4 colorways I have from Diane are bright, but they're not shocking. Well, one's orange, obviously. But I have a maroon, I have a soft blue, and I have a bright gold, kind of this color, not acid, but anyway, so I thought, well, this is perfect. So I got that. Hi. And then I got some beads from a bead shop in the front of that store. And then there was like a trim and fabric in the same historical building on the corner. Could have spent hours in there. And then I purchased this yarn, which is, can you see it? I don't know. There you go. It's like applied yarn. It's a DK with alpaca with these beads from the bead store, which you'll see what's happening with those on Saturday if you come watch, or coming soon to a yarn dyer online shop kit in October for you. So I purchased that at the Bazaar Girls, and that was a lovely shop with kind of right on the water, like beautiful, like walk out the back door, could sit on the back deck porch area, and like the sailing ships were going right by there, and that was lovely. Yeah, that. all the shops I went in. It was an old building, open brick, brickwork walls, tons of beautiful yarn. I could have spent so much money at every store, just gathering up sweaters quantities. But I didn't. I tried to have ideas or plans for most of what I bought.
Okay, so always have that border. That'll keep it from curling. Perfect. Yeah, and if you do a rib stitch, it usually won't curl. If you do a rib, or if you do a C stitch or a moss stitch. Right. Those are all things that keep it from curling. Right, okay. Yeah.
What do you do with this? Do you eat it with it?
And we went into several places. We went into the sailing center there. We went into the mercantile. We were looking for t-shirts for my mother-in-law and Kylie, as well as a sweatshirt or something for the girl across the street who waters all our plants, brings in our mail when we're gone. We always bring her home. Her parents won't let her take money because she's supposed to do community service for school and church or whatever. And so we always just bring her back something like a sweatshirt, like a nice sweatshirt. And then, her parents can't say much. And we've done it for years now. So I think she's going into high school now, 9th or 10th grade. So we got her like a fleece jacket. Anyway, not that it matters. I'm just reliving the wonderful trip that I had. So we've seen Hurricane Mountain, Crescent Lake. We went up to Soul Duck Hot Springs. We did not know that we were going to get that far up the trail, and so we didn't bring our suits, and that I would have loved to have done that. And then by that time, you could have bought a suit, but we didn't have a reservation. Everything, people were masked. They're limiting the number of people. So we weren't able to do that. But we did get out of the car at one spot, and we hiked into the woods, and we saw the salmon swimming upstream. We didn't see them jumping up the falls because we weren't up quite far enough, but they were coming up the stream. Oh my gosh. Oh, I wish you could smell this. The moss on the trees. And look at how tall they are. Oh my Lord. It's just stunning. The size of the trunk. They say they used to grow to 20 feet across. Oh my. Can you hear it? Oh, the camera is just not doing it justice. This is stunning. Talk about a memory. And they were not bright colored salmon. They were dark, and so I don't know what kind they were that we saw, but Russ like those are salmon. They were like 4 or 5. So I have video. That was amazing. Yeah, we just had a lovely trip.
Yeah,
I'm going to try to condense that down into a 10-minute story, but not sure that I'm able to do that. We had a lovely time. We stayed at luxurious places, which is so, it feels so pampering to crawl into a good bed with good bedding when you're on vacation and not a Motel 6, Springfield Inn, right? Which is what we usually stay at, like when we went to horse shows and stuff, and with my parents, we always, and the beds aren't that great. It's fine, but like we could live in these places that we stayed. They were, and the food, at that lodge, oh my gosh. I had a handmade pasta meal that night with fresh spring peas and crab. And spring greens on the top. I took a picture after I was half done eating it, just so I'd remember the memory. We had burritos one night at a hole-in-the-wall Mexican place that someone in by Salish Lodge. So that was at the base of the mountain, Snoqualmie Valley. I forgot to tell you that part. So we pull into the Salish Lodge. Ross gets up the next morning, goes for a run, comes back, and he says, "Cori, there's a car show." I was like, what? I was still in bed. And now we found a car show. Downtown Snoqualmie Valley. The first one is 69 Corvette. And he's like, yeah, there's an old car show downtown. We have to go downtown. So here we've been there one day. I've been to 2 yarn stores and we found a car show. Like, couldn't have been any more perfect. Tiny little downtown. They were having a Snow Valley days. And so they had like little vendor, like very small, but 10 tents of different vendors and stuff. So we walked up and down there. And then there was this Mexican restaurant playing like little hole in the wall. When they have grasshoppers on the menu in a little hole in the wall, that the chef is doing something right? Like, we don't eat grasshoppers, but like it's gonna be better. We had these burritos. So good. Way too much food. I'm not eating that much these days. Although I'm trying to eat more calorie dense foods when I can, because when I'm hungry, then I do try to eat. So I think I'm down 20 pounds, but I started that journey in February, so it's not 20 pounds since I got sick, but I have been losing some weight, and I'm not exercising at all. So you just lay there and become a blob. Anyway, a little bit. We went to the gym, not last night, the night before, and I rode the bike for 10 minutes. And my legs were sore. Ross lifted weights. I'm like, I'll go. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, God, Ross, I gotta move. I gotta start moving. Your back hurts, your neck hurts, your shoulders hurt because you're laying in the recliner. So we got new furniture. We ordered a new sectional sofa, which we never had before, in our family room. So our family room is a formal living room location in our house. When you come in, it's right there. But it's the room we live in. It's the room we watch TV in. I spend all my time knitting in there. My yarn is always all over it. So we've always had more casual furniture and stuff. But Ross has never we had a curved couch, just a big couch that was curved. He never liked it. I always loved it. And so he would also often go lay in the bedroom to watch TV at night, especially because he wants to watch the car channel. And I'll have something else on out here. So in March 1st, we ordered a new sectional sofa, a new recliner. And this sofa has 3 recliners in it. And one of my stipulations was that the recliners have to lay flat. I want to lay down and I want to be able to go as flat as I can to take my nap. And so I said to the lady, I don't want to look at anything where the recliners don't. Well, when you do that, the couch has to sit out quite a bit further from the wall. Not a lot, but, And this is a much taller couch, much bigger. And then we got so we have 3 recliners, because what we were thinking, because we're old people like this, is that we want to sit side by side and hold hands, watch the movie. And then we want Stevie and Kylie to be able to come over on Sundays in the fall and watch Minnesota Vikings football, and them to be able to recline while Mom reclines in her chair. And they came over last Sunday and we grilled, and they both sat in their chairs. So we got 3 recliners in one, and then Mom's recliner, which is a paisley fabric. Here's the new furniture. Recliner on the left, 2 recliners there, and then my new recliner here. It is a paisley. It doesn't look that red in real life. I wish it did, but the couch doesn't look that red either. It's more burgundy. And before the recliners came, we've been waiting and waiting because he couldn't get foam. Foam was unavailable. So, it was supposed to be here first week in June, and we just got it. We've had it like a week. We wanted to have our carpets clean, because we have a dog, and he has a bed, but he'll often lay in this one spot, and so we try to leave a fleece blanket laying there, and he'll often lay on that. But anyway, neither here nor there, Cori. We were having our carpets cleaned, and I follow that cleaning company from Canada, the lady who does the cleaning, and she does before and after pictures on Instagram. Amazing. Like, seeing something super dirty and then they clean it, and they clean people's dirty houses from top to bottom, and it's fascinating to me. But she was talking about, she has cleaning products she likes, she has a vacuum she likes. She went really viral on Instagram during the pandemic because she was teaching you how to clean your own home, because they couldn't go into homes. And so she wrote up a booklet, and she does spring cleaning, and you do 1 room a week for 6 weeks, and then your whole house is clean, stuff like that. She does all that kind of stuff. I'll link her in the show notes. But one of the things she posted was that the carpet companies clean tile. And I never knew that. And our mudroom is all tile. So we have come into the mudroom, straight ahead to a small bathroom, to the right the pantry, and straight ahead to the laundry room. And that is where we lock Cody. We have a gate into our kitchen when we're eating, when we're cooking. He has to be in the mudroom. And so he lays back there. And although we have a rug, I was looking at the grout in the bathroom, in the master bathroom, and then the grout in the mudroom. And the grout in the mudroom was gray, and the grout in the master bathroom was cream. And I was like, honey. And he's like, oh, Cori, it's always something with you with Instagram. I'm like, yes, it is. I'm always learning something new on Instagram. New recipes, new things to tell you. Political viewpoints that you don't want or hear about, anything. So when the guy came, I said to Russ, we got to ask him. And he's like, yep, it costs, 10 cents a square foot for this and that. We can seal it after we're done. Oh my gosh. I'm going to put the before and after. Because, it was gray. Now it's cream again. Amazing. If you didn't know that. Carpet cleaned, get new furniture, have them do the tile. It wasn't a very big space, so I don't even think it cost $100 or something, But where Cody lays, where he tracks in, where we track in, like we step off that rug with our shoes or whatever, kick him in the closet. It was dirty. We've never had it done. And the guy said, I just want to tell you that you can do this on your own, because Ross was like, how much is it going to cost? And the guys go, you can do it on your own. You could get a toothbrush or a small brush down there, and you can use baking soda or vinegar, and you can. And I looked at Ross, and he was like, yeah, no, we haven't ever done it, so obviously we're not going to do that. And our cleaning lady scrubs the floor, but the grout was never going to get clean. So he had like the steam thing, and sprayed it first with some type of cleaner. Oh. So, wanted to tell you about that. Someone stole the head off the one downtown, and I made an extra head, at the time because I found these bigger kind of triangular rocks when I painted them. So I painted a couple extra eyes because I gave them to some friends too. I said, you know, here's a start of a baby snake if you want to put it in your neighborhood. And I offered one to Kylie and she said no. No, Mom, I don't want to put a baby snake. But so I took pictures because there was a couple out back the other day, so out the back window with their 2 little kids looking at the snake and whatever. So, but the newspaper did a whole article on the snake. She called me and she goes, "Could you write something up?" We just have a little hometown newspaper, but the little sign that I have, and then the snake. Sammy the rock snake growing in Victoria. It's a monthly, so I don't know how many people actually read it, but they're growing. I'll put the pictures in. And then the other day, we came home to so many tomatoes on our deck. The zucchini and stuff, and some of my lettuces, they've been done for a while. My upright big planter that I bought, you know, it's about this deep. We didn't put enough dirt in. And I read about that later, that you need a foot of dirt to grow well. And we didn't fill it. We made it like half full, thinking that's a lot of dirt, right? It wasn't enough. So we didn't have good root support. Anyway, but my peppers and my tomatoes were in abundance. I had big buckets. So I thought I'm going to just roast a whole tray of them, which I've shown on the podcast before, but olive oil, salt, pepper on a cookie sheet. I don't skin them. Put them in the oven, 45 minutes to an hour. Because it doesn't matter because you're just going to blend them up. So I take them out of the oven. They're still hot, but they've been cooling. I put them in the blender. I blend them up. Oh, it looks delicious, right? Add a little sugar. Go to lift the blender out of the thing to pour it in a keeper. And the bottom of the blender was not attached. And that tomato sauce went. Well, I'll just show you the picture I took. Oh my gosh, I was so mad. It went on my rug, it went on the wall, it went on the cupboards, and I did not feel well. I barely felt well enough to roast the tomatoes, let alone. So I sent it to Amber and Kylie that day, and I'm like, my day is not going well. And Kylie said, "Mom, get rid of that blender. That blender has been bad for years." We bought new gaskets for the blender, but I just didn't screw it on tight, I don't think. And so when I lifted it out, it went everywhere. So I had to clean that all up. No more than 3 hours later, Ross and I were going to have hamburger for supper. We're going to ground hamburger. I'm browning the hamburger. We have one of those Pampered Chef cookers, the chopper thing. It's faster, quicker, easier. Not good for you, but that's what I do, especially when I don't feel well. And I turn around from the microwave. It's got little handles on it. It's not hot. Turn around from the microwave, walk over to the stove, and the hamburger goes flying on the floor. I'll just put a picture in. So I didn't cook for several days after that. I also did not tell the husband that the spaghetti sauce splashed everywhere. I had to rinse the rugs in the sink and hose them off and lay them out on the deck to dry. But that would put him over his limit of cleanliness, that someone could do that. And I didn't do it. It happened to me, but his thought process would not probably be kind and gentle in that moment. Like, he wouldn't say anything, but I would know what he was thinking, like, how could you be so stupid kind of thing. And I don't need that from you right now. It's all in my head, I'm sure, but because he's always nice. He'd have been like, "Well, honey, I would have come down to help you clean that up." He wasn't home that day, but whatever, he's nice. But I know in the back of his head he's thinking, "Wow, really? And then you dropped the hamburger all over the floor?" Mostly the hamburger stayed in the bucket. Not all of it spilled out, but quite a bit. Grease, right? So that's your Cori story for the day. Tighten your blender. With your new thumbs, grip things more tightly. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. I went on and on and on. Join me on Saturday if you can. 10 a.m. Central, 11 Eastern, on Zoom. See all my new designs. A cowl, 4 pairs of socks, a hat, mittens coming. Haven't even really gotten them going. I mean, I have the yarn from the dyer. So the collaborations are with Chelsea Yarns, Suburban Stitcher, and Mustache Yarns. So I'm pretty excited. And then Kingdom Fleece and Fiberworks. So she is a yarn mill and indie dyer. And I talked about her before. I told you to go look at her story. She's doing a spinning advent calendar with the bumps of fiber. You get 2 every week for 4 weeks. And then I'm designing the cowl. And then you get 3 buttons and the pattern as part of her advent. I don't know if there are more available. You can go to her website and look. They went on sale a couple weeks ago. And I just didn't even think to ask her if there were more left. She was doing like 50 kits minimum or something like that. Like there's a limited number. So I have that coming too. And then yesterday I met with a local yarn store, 2 gals from a local yarn store to talk about a design for them. So I went to dinner, which I haven't been out to dinner much. Anyway, my husband's learning how to cook. Not well, better. He kind of kills it, right? Like he kind of tries to kill the food. I don't mean he kills it, like does a great job. I mean like the eggs are really brown. The bacon is way too far done. But he's trying, and he's, that's how you learn. You do better next time. Sometimes you do better the next time. But I have felt better the last few days here. So we got 2 girls came to my front door and rang the doorbell and gave me their card, and they're trying to save money for college, and they live in a farm west of here, and they sell farm fresh eggs and chicken, and they deliver. And I was like, well, sign me up, right? Like I don't have to go anywhere and I can get your eggs. And so I said, yeah, give me your eggs and a chicken. And she said, okay, the chickens are $4.99 a pound, and we have an 8-pound chicken for you for next week. I got an email. I was like, what? An 8-pound chicken? You gotta be kidding, right? Like, I know you can grow big chickens, and there's only 2 of us here. So I said to Ross, wow, the chicken's gonna cost like $30. And it was like 7.81 or something. 8-pound chicken. And I was like, nah, it can't be, right? Like, what do they leave the feathers in the head and the legs? Right? But I'm like, okay, whatever, right? Locally raised, fresh, organic, I'm doing it, right? We had a giant chicken, and they delivered it. So this week I got a email saying, hey, because they deliver every other week. So Wednesday nights we have egg and we have chickens. This one's 7-pound chicken. I was like, well, that's better. And Ross was like, absolutely not. We are not spending that much for a chicken. But I'm like, you know how many meals we can get out of an 8-pound chicken? Like several. So we roasted the chicken the day we came home. We took it out. We roasted the chicken the next day. And then we made chicken salad the next day. And now tonight we're having chicken hot dish. And we haven't dented that chicken. We didn't eat it last night. So, we haven't eaten every night, but yeah, like huge chicken. I said, we're going to both be gone because I had to go to that meeting. So I said, I'm putting your money in the front door. Just leave the frozen chicken and the eggs right there. And, we'll be home right after you deliver. They deliver about 8 o'clock at night. And so the doorbell rang. We were watching Ted Lasso, I have to tell you. And Ross is like, what? I'm like, oh, it's our eggs. So I tucked this chicken under my arm, ran to the kitchen, put it in the freezer. He doesn't even know. But he'll be happy in 2 weeks on a Sunday when I can roast another giant chicken. It was delicious. So good. Made carrots and potatoes with it. Oh my gosh. And he's supporting these girls. They want to go to college. Farm girls. So, Ted Lasso. Are you guys watching Ted Lasso? Kylie called. Mom, you gotta watch Ted Lasso. I'm like, Kylie, I don't have Apple TV. She's like, Mom, it's worth the $4.99. sign up for a 1-week trial and watch it all. It's 2 seasons. Or get it for a month. So I start watching it. It's a dumb premise, right? Like, it's Jason Sudeikis, and I don't like dumb humor. I don't like half-hour sitcoms. It's not my thing. It is so good. It is so heartwarming. He is such a happy, forgive everyone, be kind person. So he's an American football coach who takes his team to the title, and then he gets hired by this woman in England to come and coach the soccer team. And he knows nothing about soccer. And she wants him to kind of ruin the team, which is, I keep looking at my hair. She wants him to kind of ruin the team because she just got divorced from her husband. And of course, everyone loves him. It is so good. So I watch, 4 episodes. And then what I said to Ross one night, you got to watch this. You're going to love it. It's funny. It's quirky. It's heartwarming. And he's like, whatever, Cori. So he starts watching. And then I'm trying to tell him everything he's missed, right? I'm telling him. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he's laughing. I don't laugh out loud like that always. I love to laugh out loud, but things don't tickle my funny bone. He is like rolling on the floor over there. He is harring it up in his new recliner. And I'm like, okay, we got to start over. We got to go back to the beginning. So now we're on episode 6 or 7 and we have to go back to the beginning. So we just caught back up. So now we're into 1 month's of subscription because we didn't get both seasons watched in the free trial or whatever. I don't even know. If you have Apple TV, even if you don't, do the subscription. It's like $4.99 for a month. It is the best thing I've seen on TV in a while. Really good. Just quirky characters, funny, pulls at your heartstrings. You hate them at first. You hate some of them. And then you start to like them because you're like, oh, they're broken. They're broken people. Oh, it's really good. Tiny bit naughty. Like not foul language or something, but they're, and a lot of references to things that you have to know, right? Like I'm sure I'm missing some of them, right? But they made a reference to Carrie Bradshaw, from, back in the day. Anyway, it's just really good. So there, this week's recommendations: American Dirt, Ted Lasso. So good. And I really, really am still enjoyed watching Homestead Rescue, 7 seasons of Homestead Rescue. That I think I talked about last time. Really, really enjoyable. I don't know why I liked that. I like that wilderness one where they put them out in the wilderness alive. What is that called? Anyway, I can't. My brain is not always fully engaged these days. I did turn 60, but this is illness stuff. Like this is just, I'm getting tired. It's getting later in the day. So I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you all for sticking with me. Thank you all for your well wishes. I have received all of your cards. I'm sure I have got lots of cards in the mail from many of you. Just so kind and so nice. It really lifted my spirits. I had some down days there. I had some tearful, what is wrong with me? When am I going to feel better days? Right? And then there's the part of you that says, people are sick like this all the time and you are getting better. So you feel bad. You feel bad that you are down because there are people living with things every day. But it doesn't negate the fact that I didn't feel good. You just, you're like, wow, it's perspective. That's what I mean. Okay. Love you all. How do I end? Keep it colorful. Keep your fork. Buy the gravy. Boy, I haven't said that one in a while. No green bananas. What are the rest? Until next time, keep your head up. Come in for your hug. I haven't been able to give you all a hug in a long time. I hope I see some of you at Rhinebeck. Hey, if you're coming to Rhinebeck, you've got a little over a month. You've got 5 weeks. Knit a Knit Words thing, will you? I got a new cover for my Knit Words book. I'm going to be on Book Row. The cover is glorious. It's beautiful. I have a free pattern card to hand out to everyone that I'm having designed by the same designer. I'm super excited about that. It cost me way too much money. I got to sell all these books. Hey, everybody. It's almost midnight. I just finished editing. Now I have to upload. I'm in my pajamas. But I wanted to let you all know that I'm going to be going live with Christy Glass next Thursday at 3:30 Central, 4:30 Eastern on Instagram to talk about the Knit and Escape class that I'm teaching. And if you want more information about Knit and Escape and the whole weekend events and all the classes, you can go to knitandescape.com. But I wanted you to put that on your little record if you're on Instagram and you want to come over and watch a live with Christy Glass and I next Thursday. See you then. But come see me. Bye.